You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Are you ready to learn the 3 secrets to launching a successful podcast? Hi, I'm Bill, a recent client of the Podcast Mogul. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast but aren't sure where to begin, he's got you covered. He is hosting a free webinar where he will share the 3 secrets that can help you launch, grow, and monetize your podcast without any fancy equipment or technical headaches. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot now and let him help get your podcast off the ground.
Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the Podcast Mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better. Today, our guest is an amazing individual. They help professional procrastinating women build confidence, increase the belief in themselves, and take actions on their goals. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we have the wandering coach from the UK, Katy Andrews. Katy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous, Phil. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. Katy, I have this gorgeous about you that I've written. Okay, I may have not written, I may have stolen it from your website. But I would love for you to introduce yourself to my audience so they can get to know you.
Absolutely. So my name is Katy Andrews. I'm otherwise known as the Wandering Coach. And the reason why I'm the Wandering Coach is because in July this year, I decided to sell everything that I own back in the UK to travel the world. And the reason I did that is largely because of the pandemic, really. It made me realize that life's too short. You know, we've all been through a lot of ups and downs with that period in our lives. And it was just a case of, you know what, I need to change my life. Life's too short. What do I want to do? I want to travel the world. So that's what I've done. I've followed my passion, followed my dream. And to be honest, as nerve-wracking as it can be, doing this, I've got no regrets. I've got absolutely no regrets for doing it. I just wish I would have done it sooner, to be honest with you. And wow. Now my life is very much traveling the world, and also I've got a coaching business as well. And I coach, professional procrastinators to, take control of their life, build confidence, and take action on their goals.
I love it. What made you, what was your why? What drove you? I was reading on your why, and I do need to let people know, if you're going to go down there, there is some I'll say a trigger warning.
Yeah.
There was some difficult things that could hurt some listeners. And I know some of my personally, some listeners may be affected by this, but your why, that kind of sparked this. Do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, so, me and my husband, we sort of went through IVF, trying to have children. And, one of the times it didn't work, one of the times it did work. And the time that it did work, unfortunately, we didn't get to the 12-week mark, and, went to the hospital, and they said, unfortunately, you've lost your child. And that was a big shock, as it would be. But as much as a shock that it was, it almost became a revelation to me. It was like in that moment, and I maybe partly said it out of shock, I don't know. But in that moment, I actually turned to my husband and I said, do you know what? We need to kind of push forward with our travel plans. It was almost like in that moment, it was like a revelation of, okay, well, your life's not going down that path right now. So push forward with the life that you want. give yourself that self-love and that thing that you desire and want and push forward. So yeah, it was almost like with the sort of crisis situation came a revelation. So I don't know if any listeners can relate to that, you know.
Hopefully, some can, and some can look and not wait for a monumental change, or I don't want to say it's a tragedy, but also it helped you.
Yeah.
Like, yes, the whole fact that you lost your child, that's horrific, and that's
Yeah.
my condolences to you, because I don't personally know how it is, but I do have family members that did have a situation similar to yours. But the change in your life and the freedom that you've gained,
Yeah.
and now you kind of have a new child in your business. You're growing your
Absolutely.
business.
In a way, I'm sort of like
Yeah.
cradling myself in a way, nurturing myself in the same way that you would a child. So yeah, and it's presented opportunities to me that, probably would have come eventually. I'm a strong believer that your path is your path. It's just sometimes you get
Mhm.
bumps in the road, don't you? And it's almost like serving you there as a lesson, and it's how you overcome that, along the way. So I do always believe that I was meant to be on this journey that I'm on. It's just I've had this little bump in the road. So, but it's kind
A
of
little detour.
strengthened me as an individual,
Yeah, I feel that, like, I feel that way as well, because I went into the corporate world and had a burnout. Nothing, a completely different situation than yours, and not comparing at all, because everybody's journey is different. But I feel like I was meant to talk to people, interview people, be on TV, if it will, because I enjoy learning about people, and the one of the reasons I started this podcast. So even though I was off my journey, hearing how you explained yours, like it was a bump in the road, it was a little detour in the journey to get to this point where I get to talk with you, Katy, about your being a wandering coach. Now, what made it specifically about procrastinating professional women, or professional procrastinating women, depending on how you want to say it? Why were they the ones that you wanted to help specifically?
So the reason that I want to help them specifically, I've definitely gone with where my heart is, because I think, just like you, Phil, you've gone with what your passion, haven't you? You've gone with what you want to do in life, and I had that calling to do that, to help procrastinating, sorry, professional people, not just women, by the way. I will help women and men. But the reason why I've had that calling is because procrastination is something that I've dealt with on and off for 2 decades. I've lost time in the past, time, energy, confidence, self-esteem, because of procrastination. So I know how damaging it can be, as an individual. Like, it can really damage you inside and out. So I wanted to help and serve those people like myself, essentially. And, I've got a much better handle on procrastination now. And I think the main cure for that, if you will, for me personally, is traveling the world. Because when you're a procrastinator, I think a bit of perfectionism comes in as well. You want things to be right, you just don't always know how, and then you sort of procrastinate over that. And traveling the world, because things can't be perfect, because there's loads of bumps in the road that you don't always foresee, it's made me a lot more relaxed. So it's really taken the edge off that procrastination, because there's a lot of things that are outside of my control. So, I'm a strong believer, for anybody that's a procrastinator out there, that there will be something that can heal you and serve you and help minimize that procrastination. I don't believe that it goes away completely, but sometimes we can find little strategies and methods just to kind of get more control over it. So that's the reason why I'm serving those people.
I love it. I love it, because it is true. We're the yeah. I'm going to be completely honest. I am a victim of procrastination. It was probably my biggest thing, because I always believed things would just come to me, and so but that would take years for it to happen. And now that I've started this entrepreneurial journey, I realize that the procrastination, like you said, we want it to be perfect, because we think it needs to be perfect to go out there, when we don't realize that perfect does never exist. We can only get it to 98%, and the 98% will have to do, but you start at like 50%, because you only can learn the 48 extra percent when you start doing it and learning from it.
Absolutely. And I feel as well that everybody's got their own reasons why they procrastinate. But for me, one of the biggest drivers of procrastination was stressful situations for me. That would definitely trigger something. And how you're feeling inside as well can sometimes trigger it as well. But everybody's got their own reasons why they procrastinate. But that was the biggie for me, stressful situations, which are unavoidable a lot of the time.
Yeah. It's life. Life has stress, and you just have to learn how to deal with those stresses. Um, when you started, because you're relatively new, you're only about you started this year, correct? If I'm not mistaken, you said July.
So I started my own business recently in July. I've been a coach for several years before that, but I worked in a different field. So my background was predominantly HR and education. So I used to coach and mentor people, to build on career goals. And, in HR, I used to help people and coach people to get jobs, build on their confidence. So I've always had that coaching ability within me. It's just more recently it's really kind of come out and come to the surface that this is what I'm really meant to be doing. I've done lots of little jobs where there's been little signs because I've coached people in an indirect way.
Mm-hmm.
It's just now it's like I'm truly aligned with what I'm supposed to be doing in life.
So you were always on your path. You were just slightly to the path to the left or slightly to the right, not the path that you were supposed to be on, but a parallel path. I love that. I love how life kind of like, no, you're supposed to be doing this, but you're just beside what you're actually supposed to be doing.
And you don't always realize, do you? You go for these jobs, because it's life, isn't it? Have a job and everything. And some jobs would be, you'd be passionate about it. You wake up every day and enjoy it. And then other jobs, you'd be like, oh, have I got to go to work now? And it'd just be an absolute drain. So I've had my fair share of those, I can tell you. But yeah, it's taken like over 20 years to get to this point of knowing exactly what I want to be doing. So, but better late than never. Better late than never.
Yeah, always. That's the best line. You started whenever, but just started. How in your coaching journey, because you've been coaching, like you said, for years, are there moments that you see in there that just pop? Like they're just like, wow, that's a great moment. I can't believe I was able to do that, or helping this person accomplish that. Those memories in that journey, do you have one that you want to share that just reinforces the idea that you were on the right path? Being that you should be a coach.
Absolutely. So I'll share a couple actually. I'll share a more recent one and then I'll go back a little bit. So more recent one is with a client called Leah. The reviews on my website actually for people to see. She came to me with low self-esteem, low confidence. She didn't really know which way to turn. She had a lot of life goals that she couldn't quite get motivated to kind of get there. So she needed some accountability. So she started working with me on my 12-week program. And my programs, even though I have a framework that I use, I tailor it to each client because each client's got different needs. Mm-hmm. So, she had a self-esteem to work on, confidence, those kind of things. So we focused on that for 12 weeks. And I could see week on week, and she could see week on week how she was growing as an individual. She had that accountability from me. Things were getting super focused. And as a result, she was building her confidence. Towards the end, what came out is something that she didn't even consider, which was her money mindset needed working on. And because she had low confidence and low self-esteem, it meant that her money mindset was off. She didn't think she was worthy of money or that she deserved it. She wouldn't treat herself to things, she'd be wary of spending money. So, through my sort of coaching questions, that became a revelation for her. And from that point onwards, she was like booking holidays with family, and the family were benefiting from it, and the family were growing as well as a part of it. And that's the pinnacle moment for me, not just changing that person's life, but changing their whole family's life and the people around them. That's what I want. So that was amazing. And, like I say, she gave me a really sound testimonial, video testimonial as well. So that was a big thing for me. And then going back in time a little bit as well to when I was an education coach, when I used to, hold people accountable and get them from A to B in terms of their career and education goals, there was one person that was a bit behind. with everything. And when I eventually got hold of him and we had, an honest, frank conversation, and, he held his hands up and said, I do admit that I'm behind. I said, well, just look at it this way. The path that you're on now to your education goal isn't forever with me, but the benefits will be. And as simple as that was, it stuck with him to the point that he completely turned it around. And then week on week towards the end of his career and course goals, he just got back on track. He just literally turned it around. So it's little things like that you can say something so simple that somebody's not considered, and it can completely change their life. So do you know what I mean, Phil? It's just the little things matter sometimes.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. I do know what you mean, because there's been times where you're having a conversation. I've had a conversation with some friends about something in their life, and I'm like, well, just do this, like something so simple to me is life-changing for someone else. And it kind of feels like amazing when you get those moments.
Absolutely. And when you just change other people's lives, that's the key bit for me, changing other people's lives around them, because then everybody benefits, don't they? So
yeah, that ripple effect, like the individual you were just talking about, pushing on their education, they get a better job, means more income coming in, means he's bringing up the standard of living of his family. They can go on holidays, like the person you just helped, like it's completely different.
And not even that, but by him turning his life around in terms of time management and focus with that, that career goal, it means that he's probably going to transfer everything that he's learned into his day-to-day job, because he may have got a bit behind in his job because of it as well. So
Jesus Murphy, that's amazing. Some great stories, and a realization that you should have been in coaching because you're helping these people through these things, and it's like, you should be doing it on your own. You'll be helping much more people that way. I love it. Katy, what's next for you? What are some goals that you have, if you care to share at least one goal with us?
So I think the main goal for me is, having a really successful coaching business where I'm helping as many people as possible, because, I've got to follow my dream. So I want to serve as many people as possible. So having a really successful, thriving coaching business where I'm helping people. So it's not about the money for me. It's about the transformation. So helping as many people as possible. That's going to just make my heart, scream. And also as well, for the time being, at least for the next sort of 5 years, continuing to travel the world, seeing as many places as possible, and, maybe looking to settle somewhere in Asia and, still travel, because I think once you've got that travel bug in you, you're always still going to do a bit of it, but see as much of the world as I can, and then slow the pace down a little bit, find a base, and just keep serving people. Don't plan to go back to the UK. I've done 30 odd years there. It's time for a change.
And currently, with them changing political leaders every couple seconds, it makes sense that you may want to be out there, because voting every 3 weeks is not fun. Voting once every 4 years is enough for me. Katy, I would like to know a tip, okay? Because I know I suffer from procrastination. I can guarantee there's some listeners out there that suffer from procrastination. What is it, maybe an actionable tip that they can take right now that can help them move past that procrastination issue? Or personally, I'm asking for me, not really my audience. It's more me, but I'm gauging it as my audience.
Okay, well, I can do a couple of things, actually. I can give a tip, and I can actually go beyond that and give people my free ebook, which is called Procrastination to Power, which is on my website now. It's a free download. There's tips in there, but I'll give you one tip. One tip that worked for me is take imperfect action every day. Appreciate that it doesn't have to be perfect. Just pick something that's in line with your ultimate goal, put one foot in front of the other and do it. Don't think about, whether it's perfect or not. Just do it. Just take the action, because that imperfect action is action nonetheless. So that's my number one tip. It's really simple, Phil. One foot in front of the other, imperfect action towards that big goal, and eventually you will get there. Because if you look at my travel goal, it was years in the making, really. I couldn't do anything because of COVID. I couldn't go anywhere. but the dream was there. So from that point 2 years ago, one foot in front of the other, what do I want? Keep taking small little steps, and eventually I'm there, you know? So that's my number one tip to you and the listeners. And also as well, just to add another bit in there, with me personally, what really helped with that imperfect action is visualization. So to give you an idea, I've watched loads of YouTube videos on travel, and that visualization then just cements it, and it just makes you super focused then, because you're like, oh, look, look at that place in Bali with the sun shining down, and it just keeps you going, keeps you motivated. So if you can visualize it, it's all the better.
I love it. Great pieces of advice, because it is true that imperfect step is the step to perfection, because you can't start being perfect if you don't know how to do it. You have to start being horrible to start. Katy, I'm wondering, in your journey, do you have a set number of locations that you want, like countries you want to visit? Do you have a goal for that, or do you have a goal for certain countries? Like I want to be in like Ireland. I want to be in, Dubai. I want to visit, Guatemala. Are there more specific like countries you want to visit, or is it a specific number of countries you want to visit?
To be honest, Phil, for the first time in my life, I'm going with the flow, because originally our plans were to go to Canada, and the visa didn't come through in time. In fact, it only recently come through. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but it took forever.
I don't understand
Absolutely
it.
forever for the Canada visa. And we were going to see friends there. We were going to spend time there. And this is what I'm talking about, how, imperfect action is the one, because, years ago, I'd have procrastinated about that and gone, when I go to Canada, I've got all these plans, and it's all, probably would have cried about it or something. But when the visa didn't come through, it was like, well, we've got to do something now. So we changed our plans, and we ended up in New Orleans. And New Orleans was fantastic, absolutely amazing. And then from there, we went to Lafayette, Houston, California, Mexico, Ecuador, and now we're in Colombia. And none of that was pre-planned. It was literally go with the flow. Where should we go next? Let's have a little bit of a path going. But it wasn't really pre-planned. So I'm really sort of pleased and proud of myself for just going with the flow there. But in terms of answering your question, in terms of where I want to go next, we are going to Costa Rica after Colombia. So really looking forward to that. And then also after that, we're going to South Africa, because my husband's got a friend there. So we're going to stay with them, have some barbecues, hopefully get to a beach and stuff. And then after that, we're hoping to head to Asia. Now, Asia is a place that I love. I've sort of dived into there a bit in the past, but there's so much to see there. There really is. I've barely scratched the surface. So hoping to do like Singapore again, a bit more of Indonesia, maybe head to, I don't know if you know Cafe Coach, Phil, but I'm a part of the Coaching Masters. So I got my accreditation via the Coaching Masters. So I'm hoping to head into Cafe Coach in Bali and, see other coaches, network, do all of that. And then probably head to like the Philippines, places like that. Maybe Australia again in the future. So it's very loose, but it's definitely going to be, let's see as much as we possibly can. It's a big wide world out there, and I'm not sure I'll see it all in one go. But I certainly want to see as many places as possible.
I love that. Okay, we are coming up to the end, which I hate because I'm having a fun time talking with you, Katy. Sorry. The final question, obviously, my audience knows it's Spark. It's to spark conversations so that people can possibly take this and ask their friends and family. It's by Seek Discomfort, also known as Yes Theory. And this is very interesting because it deals with what you coach on. But what advice would you give to someone who is currently struggling?
So struggling with procrastination, Phil, or just struggling with anything in mind?
Just struggling in life in general. We'll go with life in general at the moment.
Okay, I would say if they're struggling with life in general, because I've been there and can certainly empathise, is try and remove yourself from that situation. So I think sometimes we can get so absorbed with the situation that we're in, we just cannot find a way out. Find a way to remove yourself, whether it's going to the beach or going to talk and vent to a friend. Just get yourself out of that situation, because I found in the past, if I've been struggling, mentally, physically, if you don't do something about it, whatever it is that works for you, you're just going to carry on getting worse. So you need to get yourself out of that situation, find a coping mechanism, and just speak to someone. Or if you feel you can't speak to someone, because not everybody can, just go and do something that you find fun. And I'll give you an example of that, Phil, because, I'm still only human, good days and bad days. The other day, I thought, right, take myself to the beach, happy place, watch a sunset, maybe crack open a beer or something, go get something nice to eat. Just give yourself some time, to kind of recuperate and reset. I think that reset is absolutely important and it's vital for mental and physical health. So yeah, that'd be my tip.
Awesome. An amazing tip, Katy. Thank you very much for sharing that. We are coming to the end. I'm going to jump off the screen here, Katy. I want you to let my audience know where they can find you, the Wandering Coach, so that they can start getting rid of procrastination, or at least getting that free ebook. So the floor is yours.
Fabulous. Thanks, Phil. So, to those of you that may be dealing with low self-esteem, low confidence, wanting to take action on your goals, or if you're a procrastinator, then please head to www.thewanderingcoach.co.uk, and on there you will find some free resources, such as a free ebook called Procrastination to Power, which is packed full of tips, and also you can complete a free wheel of life if you want to determine which areas of your life you want to focus on and work on. So thank you very much for listening today, and thank you very much, Phil. Much appreciated.
It was my pleasure, Katy. It was a great talking with you and learning about your story. To my audience, as you know, down in the show notes, you can find all the links. I'll have one specifically for Katy's ebook, so you can just click on that and get that ebook right away, as well as the Wheel of Life. Let's make things simple for you guys, so that you can not have a procrastinating reason. Oh, I have to click a link and then click another one. No, you have to click one link. That's what we're going to do for you. We're taking away the pain points for you. Katy, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm so happy to have had you tell us about your story. Even though it may have started in tragedy, it seems that it's going into a beautiful place, and I'm very happy to have you here, and I'm sure my audience can't thank you enough as well. Again, to my audience, I thank you for listening, and as always, remember to invest in yourself.
Thanks for tuning in. Now it's time to take the next step. When you're ready to dive deeper into how to launch, grow, and monetize your podcast, Phil's got something special for you. Join him for a free webinar where he'll reveal the 3 secrets that have helped countless entrepreneurs succeed in podcasting. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot, and let's turn your podcasting dreams into reality.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.